Let's talk about starting a trucking company from scratch. Are you looking to get into trucking but aren't exactly sure the first steps that you need to take? Well, in this video, I'm going to go from the complete beginning, from getting a CDL or commercial driver's license, all the way through getting your motor carrier number and your DOT number. Welcome back to my channel, Mystery Money. On this channel, I discuss all sorts of topics that surround money. My primary focus is working on small business financials, some personal financials, and some investment info from time to time. If at any time during the video you're getting any kind of value, if you could do me a favor and smash that like button, it really helps me out a lot. And if you're a company driver right now and you're on the road, looking to branch out on your own, I will also link the podcast version of this video for you to listen to, or you can search for my channel on any of the Apple Podcasts under Mystery of Money. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the video. So just to give you a little background, I'm a financial professional by day and a small business owner by night. My brother and I started a trucking company over 4 years ago, and we have a fleet of 3 trucks. We are potentially looking to expand to a 4th truck if we can find a driver. When we first got started, we were leased onto a carrier called Super Service, which is no longer a business. I believe they were bought out by a larger company. That relationship worked well, but it wasn't the type of driving that my brother really liked. He didn't like having to wait in terminals for hours on end or only delivered at certain times and really running up against his 11-hour clock, and he hated doing a reset on the road. Super Service did give him the foundation of driving the truck, and it set him up for success. There's basically 2 ways to get your CDL. You can study and pass a written test and then ask someone to borrow a truck to teach you how to drive it, or you can attend a driving school. Either one gets you the same result. Once you graduate or pass your exam, if you're very new with driving and you have very little experience, you're going to have extremely high insurance costs. And that's even if you can get it. It might be a good idea to become a company driver first, or you can look at companies like OOIDA, the Owner Operators Independent Driving Association. They give you discounted insurance when you're first starting out, and they also provide excellent information. I'll also link to their website below. So transitioning from a company driver at Super Service to an owner operator was pretty easy. He already had the contacts, and he just went from basically being paid as driver to being leased onto the company. Like I said, it didn't work out, so we ended up going with a new carrier who only hauls flatbed. This same carrier we've been with for the last 3 years. In between the time of Super Service and our new carrier, we explored the options of getting our own DOT number and motor carrier number and our own liability insurance. But for this video, I'm just going to go back in time and talk about the point where my brother started driving. So he received his CDL license about a year prior to us starting the company. He began, like I said, driving for Super Service as a company driver. This is prior to me ever getting involved with the company at all or knowing anything about him wanting to start a business. After about a year, he was like, I'm done doing this. I want to be my own boss. So he talked to me one Thanksgiving. He said he wanted to buy a truck and go into business for himself. And me having the background, dealing with lots of trucking companies and seeing what they go through, I was like, I'm not going to let him do this without helping. A few months went by and we kept talking about the business, and finally we formed it that March. So our first step was essentially forming the LLC. After that point, I started working on the business plan. This is before we had any idea what truck we were going to buy or anything like that. In the meantime, he kept working as a driver, gaining experience, all of those things. Now, speaking of business plan, my course just launched this week. If you need help writing a business plan or don't know where to start, this course will walk you through every step in that process. If you're interested in taking the course, I will post a link to Teachable below where you can check it out. If you're not ready for that step, just go back and watch these videos here where I talk about how to start a business plan. So once the business plan was written, we were able to find a lender that would finance. We had already received a draft copy of the lease agreement with Super Service that we could use as a basis for the numbers for our business plan. Now, you can do this in the steps of getting the truck first or going on to the next step first. So let's talk about the process of getting your DOT number. Just like setting up your company LLC or incorporating your company, there are companies that will get you set up with everything you need, such as your motor carrier number, your permits, factoring, and anything else you're willing to pay for. With a little time investment, you can do all of these things on your own. In order to start a motor carrier application, you need your DOT number. You can obtain your DOT number from the FMCA website that I'm going to link below. On this website, it's called the Unified Carrier Registration System. It's a very simple process that's kind of like TurboTax and walks you through all the steps. So when you're looking to start operations, you're going to have to choose between 2 types of operations which is interstate and interstate. Interstate transportation companies only work within your state lines. Interstate companies operate across state lines. An example of these would be if you were going to start a company to run people from your hometown to, let's say, a local casino. That's the only business that you were going to do. Or let's say you wanted to start a limousine company or something like that where you're transporting within a certain radius. That would be considered intrastate. An example of an interstate company is going to be a trucking company or anybody that delivers outside of your home state. Once you begin the process of the Unified Carrier Registration System, you must complete it within 30 days. If you don't, your application is going to be deleted. So when you're ready to do this step, make sure you have everything around and you do it the first time. Some of the information you're going to need will be your business legal name and legal business address, who are the primary people involved in the business, and the business classification. Before you start this process, you want to go through and look at what your business classification is going to be first. If you're going to haul hazmat, for an example, or if you're going to haul people, things like that are going to have different certifications. They all fall into different categories for operating. There is certain circumstances where you may not need a motor carrier number as your DOT number. Again, those are going to be situations and classifications under the system. Generally, if you're moving general freight, operating a motor vehicle weighing over 10,000 pounds, and you cross state lines, and you are getting paid to do it, you need a motor carrier number and a DOT number. As far as fees go for the process, the DOT number is free, but the motor carrier number will cost you $300 for each motor carrier number you need. Different types of motor carrier numbers will be classified as things like property carrier, household good carrier, passenger carriers, freight forwarders, brokers, things like that. For each one of those designations, your business will need those different motor carrier numbers. So in a real world example, let's say you own a transportation company, like we do. You haul general freight, but then you also operate a van line that runs people back and forth to the mall. Those would need two different motor carrier numbers, which would each cost $300 a piece. Now, a little warning, when you hit submit, you are going to start getting all sorts of solicitations in the mail for your business. There's even a disclaimer on the FMCA website where it talks about state partners allowed to contact you and solicit. I can say from firsthand experience, the moment we hit the button when we originally applied for a DOT number, we got all sorts of factoring companies, legal companies, whatever pieces of junk you can imagine we got mailed. So now let's talk about time frame. On the FMCA's own website, it states that application process can take roughly 25 business days to receive your operating authority. Once your application is approved and you're issued your motor carrier number will be published in the FMCA's registry, and after that there's a 10-day protest period. Once your application is approved, and before you're granted operating authority, you need to complete some additional steps. The first is going to be filing a BOC3, which is an agent designation. You're going to have to provide proof of insurance, which is going to be based on the liability thresholds that are set by the Department of Transportation. Whatever insurance company you go through must e-file your policy with the FMCA online, as well as your processing agent to file your BOC3 form electronically. From the time your application is approved, you have 90 days to complete all the steps I listed above. If you don't submit the required documentation within 90 days, your application will be dismissed and you'll be charged an application fee regardless. And then you're going to have to start the process from scratch all over again. Once you completed all of the steps for FMCSA, you will receive a certificate of operating authority. Once that's received, you will be able to begin your business. Now you have your motor carrier number and your DOT number, and you're ready to either purchase your truck or get your truck you already own on the road. If you haven't purchased your truck and you're in the process of that, once you purchase the truck, you're going to have to register it with the state you currently live in, or you're going to operate in. Here's a tip. Make sure if you finance a truck that before that title goes to the lender to hold in possession, you have physical title to go to a notary to get your plates. We've ran into that situation twice now where we've financed a truck, the title got sent to the bank, and we couldn't get plates. So make sure that your lender knows you need that physical title to register your truck before you can start running. If you get to the notary without that, they will not issue plates. Registration fees are going to be dependent on which state that you're doing business in. You're going to have to estimate roughly where you'll be driving the truck. And if it's interstate and you'll be traveling across state lines, you're going to have to pay based on estimated miles you will travel in those states. Most of the time, the states will charge the maximum registration fee, and at the end of the time frame, usually 1 year, you'll get a credit on your account for the next registration. So now, if your truck is going to cross state lines or travel over 150 miles from your base of operation, you're going to have to receive an IFTA permit. This is the International Fuel Tax Agreement. This was signed by all the states. You have to keep track of every mile that you travel in every state and pay taxes on that state based on how much fuel you're using. This is another thing that you can pay a company to do, and they will track all of the miles. They'll take the gallons that you buy in each state and figure out the difference in the taxes and all that stuff and submit it to the authorities. A lot of times this is a bundling package that you can factor and do all this thing, and they're going to charge one fee. Some of the GPS devices will actually track your miles, and you can input the gallons and things like that. I think Garmin, the Garmin Diesel does. I think one of ours does track that if we choose. But PrePass, which is a system that you can pay tolls like EasyPass, offers a very similar service. When we first started out, my brother would carry cash with him in the cab, but once we hired more drivers, I wasn't going to be giving them, $300 to $500 a week in order to pay for tolls. Plus, with all that's going on in the world right now, most states are getting away from the cash payments anyway, and they're pushing towards a PrePass. In order to get a PrePass account, you have to use your motor carrier number and your DOT number. They require 2 months of escrow account for the tolls that you're anticipating using. So if your monthly toll bill would be $1,000, they're going to require $2,000 in an escrow account.
So I was just editing the video and I realized that it's only actually 1 month of tolls. I went back and looked at my PrePass account, and it's only 1 month of tolls versus the 2 months, so sorry about that.
To give you an idea, our monthly tolls are right around $1,500 a month. Now that's for 3 trucks, so figure $500 per truck per month if you run kind of interstate systems. As you run and your tolls increase, they're going to hit that automatic account to make up the difference, and you sign an agreement stating they can do so. Now they say by using this service you save a discount on tolls, but I really couldn't tell you because I don't travel a lot of toll roads, not in a semi-truck. The other thing you can get once your safety record and your motor carrier number is established, you can get a way station bypass. We have this on our trucks due to the fact that our motor carrier that we run under has a good history. This does save on fuel as well as the time for the driver stopping. So now that we went over all the startup processes, the last thing that you're going to have to worry about is getting paid. Running under your own authority, you're going to have to be at the discretion of your broker that's paying you. Most of the time those terms are going to be 30 days, 45 days, 60 days after you deliver the load till you get paid. You're going to have to figure out how to bridge the gap between when you deliver the loads and when you get paid. This is where a working capital line of credit would work in order to bridge those gaps for funding. Most of the time banks will give you about a month and a half worth of working capital in a line of credit. So you're going to run thin if you're going to be delivering a lot of loads and using the fuel and other expenses in the meantime. The other option is factoring companies. Factoring companies will take your bills of lading that you get a percentage of. They're going to charge a fee, and they're going to pay you out in a shorter period of time. They're going to charge a fee, and again, sometimes you can find these in bundle services where you're paying one fee to do your IFTA filings, your factoring, your permitting, things like that. Do a little bit of research and find some companies that have decent reviews and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get the services done. Or you can take the time to learn it and do it yourself and save a little money. Thank you very much for taking this time to watch the video. I hope I gave you a basic steps that you need to know in order to start your trucking company. If there's any other topics that you'd like me to cover or get more in depth about, make sure you post them in the comment. If you got any value at all in this video, could you do me a favor and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm? It really helps out the channel. I wish you continued success in your business or with starting your business. And until next time, make it a great day.